The USDA actually just confirmed wheat planting is at its lowest level since 1919. The last time the number was this low, the Dust Bowl followed. Iran just shut 7 urea plants and choked the fertilizer supply through the Strait of Hormuz. The 2027 harvest just got written off. This is not good at all.
The current grocery store is the last echo of a system that no longer exists. The federal government just told us the next American wheat harvest is the smallest one this country has produced in over 50 years. 40% of the crop is rated poor or very poor. The wheat that becomes bread, pasta, pizza dough, and burger buns is collapsing by 36% in a single season. The wheat that becomes flour for every baked good in your supermarket is on its way to the worst harvest since the 70s. The American food supply is being hollowed out one harvest at a time. The fertilizer to grow it is locked behind a closed strait. The drought has not broken. 70% of American farmers say they can't afford what they need. Some of them are not planting at all. The current grocery store still looks normal. That's because the wheat you're buying right now was planted before the Iran war, grown before the drought, fertilized before the price spike. You are eating the last food the old system produced. The food the new system is producing was just measured. The numbers are bad, and they are getting worse. By the end of this video, you'll see why the fertilizer crisis is locked in, why this could be the start of a new Dust Bowl, why the American family farm itself is in danger of going under, and exactly what gets hit on the grocery shelf and when. Let me walk you through what just happened. The U.S. Department of Agriculture publishes a monthly report called the WASDE, the World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimates. It's the federal government's official look at where every major American crop stands. The May edition is the first full forecast for the upcoming harvest year. The numbers were just published. U.S. wheat production for the upcoming year, 1.561 billion bushels, down 424 million for last year. The lowest wheat harvest in the country since the early 70s. Winter wheat down 25%. The hard red winter wheat, the flour wheat, down 36%. All wheat yield 5.8 bushels per acre below last year's record. 40% of the crop rated poor or very poor. Corn for the same year, 16 billion bushels, down 6%. Corn ending stocks at a multi-year low. Corn is in your tortillas, your breakfast cereal, your snap chips, and it's the dominant feed for American beef, pork, chicken, eggs, and dairy. When corn drops, everything in the meat case eventually gets repriced. That is what the federal government just told us. Now here is why the next harvest may be even worse than this one. The fertilizer crisis has not gone away. Iran shut 7 urea and ammonia plants when the war broke out. Iran was the third largest urea exporter in the world. The plants had not reopened. 1/3 of all globally traded nitrogen fertilizer is still trapped behind the Hormuz closure. American fertilizer prices rose more than 40% in the first month of the war and have not normalized since. The American Farm Bureau Federation surveyed 5,700 farmers in April. 70% said they could not afford all the fertilizer they needed this season. 70% of the people growing the country's food said they couldn't pay for the inputs. The spring application window closes in early summer. What does not get applied to a field by then does not go on at all. The crop yield is set by what is in the soil during the growing season. The yield is collapsing because the fertilizer was either too expensive or not available, and the harvest is now confirming what the soil already knew. Tommy Salisbury, an Oklahoma farmer and Farm Bureau leader, told CNBC, quote, "We are paying input prices of 2026, but getting crop prices of the 70s and 80s. That sentence is the farm economy in a single breath. The costs are at modern levels. The revenues are at half-century-old levels. The math does not work." Brian Hansel, Chief Revenue Officer at the agriculture company Holganics, told Fortune, quote, "This is heart-wrenching for farmers to decide. Do I lose money or do I cut fertilizer? Or what do I do?" That's the question multi-generational American farms are answering in real time. Some of them are answering it by leaving. Farms that fold under this cycle do not come back. The land gets consolidated. The next generation walks away from agriculture entirely. Now the drought. 40% of U.S. winter wheat is rated poor or very poor. The southern plains, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska, Colorado, has been in continuing drought through the entire growing season. Freeze damage compounded the loss. There is no weather forecast that calls for the drought to break before the harvest arrives. The fields are already showing what they will yield. Here is where this gets dangerous. In 1934, drought destroyed the wheat crop across the American plains. 1935, partial recovery. 1936, drought returned. 1937, drought again. 3 consecutive compromise seasons. Dust storms blew topsoil from Kansas to the Atlantic Ocean. Farms collapsed. Tens of thousands of families left the plains permanently. Bread prices rose and stayed elevated for years. The recovery took 3 to 4 years after the drought finally broke, because rebuilding the country's wheat stocks requires multiple normal harvests in a row. That was the Dust Bowl. A single bad harvest recovers in 1 year. A multi-year supply collapse, where the underlying conditions persist into the next planting season, locks elevated prices in for the duration of the cycle. The conditions that just gave America its smallest wheat crop in over 50 years are the same conditions farmers are looking at as they think about whether to plant again. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. Fertilizer is still unaffordable. The drought is still in the soil. The war has not ended. None of the 3 conditions that broke this year's harvest has changed for the next one. Can American farmers replant? The equipment exists, the seed exists, the fields exist. What may not exist is the capital and the operator. A multi-generation family farm that already absorbed 3 years of declining commodity prices going into the war does not have the cash to absorb a $35,000 per 1,000-acre increase in input costs. The farms that fold do not come back. The kids inheriting them do not stay. The American family farm, already shrinking for decades, is facing the cycle that could break it permanently. The International Grains Council confirmed the global version of the same problem. World grain output projected to fall 2% from last year's record. Wheat, corn, and barley stocks all drawing down at once.
Hey everyone, real quick shout out. If you would like to take advantage of the price before it goes up for real estate courses, real estate cycles course, the real estate bear market course, and so much more, one insane low price. All of this that you're learning about in the video is going to lead to lower home prices. So you want to be ready before the deals come, so you're not playing catch up and you're saving tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars during this next cycle. All right, let's get back to the video.
A 53 million ton global shortfall, larger than the entire annual export volume from Ukraine in a normal year. The same Hormuz closure, the same fertilizer crisis, the same drought conditions are hitting every major grain-producing country in the Northern Hemisphere simultaneously. This is what a food supply collapse looks like before it shows up at the grocery store. So here is what gets hit and in what order. The flour wheat is down 36%. That is the wheat that becomes bread, sandwich bread, dinner rolls, hamburger buns, hot dog buns, bagels, English muffins, pita, naan, tortillas, pizza dough. That is the wheat that becomes pasta, spaghetti, linguine, fettuccine, lasagna, every shape of dried pasta in every aisle. That is the wheat that becomes breakfast cereal, granola, crackers, cookies, pretzels, snack bars, breakfast biscuits. The harvest is collected in summer. The mills process it through the fall. The wholesale flour price reflects the new supply by autumn. The retail bread and baked goods prices follow on the timeline supermarkets adjust pricing, usually within a few months of the wholesale shift. Once those prices lock in, they hold until the next harvest arrives. But wheat does not just become bread. Wheat is in the entire processed food economy in ways most consumers never see. Wheat is the binder in frozen meals. Wheat is in soy sauce, beer, vodka, gin, soup thickeners, breaded chicken, breaded fish, sausage casings, breakfast bars, ice cream cones, hot dog buns, energy bars, candy bars, pet food. When the wheat farm price rises 30%, hundreds of grocery categories absorb it. The household sees the bread price first because the bread aisle is most visible. The rest follows within months. Corn is the second wave. Direct food, tortillas, corn syrup, breakfast cereal, snap chips, polenta, cornmeal. Indirect through animal feed. Every protein in the meat case, every dairy product, every egg. When corn ending stocks hit a multi-year low and the farm price rises, every protein in the supermarket is on the same clock. Beef is the longest cascade and the worst news. The federal government confirmed lower beef production in both upcoming years. The mechanism is the herd rebuild. When ranchers retain breeding cattle instead of sending them to slaughter, supply contracts. Rebuilding a breeding herd takes 18 to 24 months. Fed cattle prices in the current quarter are already at $253, up $12 in a single month's revision. The beef in your grocery store this summer is the cheapest beef available for the next 2 years because the temporary supply from the culling that preceded the rebuild is still on the market. After the culling, supply contracts. The rebuild prices in. Steak, ground beef, hamburger, roasts, brisket, all on the same 2-year curve. Cooking oil and fats. The wheat report also confirmed that soybean oil use for biofuel will rise to 17.8 billion pounds, up 3.6 billion. The soybean oil that would have become cooking oil is being diverted to biodiesel under federal renewable fuel policy. The fuel versus food competition is mandated by law. Cooking oil, salad dressings, margarine, mayonnaise, all on the same supply track. This is the food supply collapse landing in real time. Not one product, the entire grocery basket compressing at once because one agricultural cycle just got measured as the worst American wheat year in over 50 years. And the same cycle is running across corn, beef, and cooking oil simultaneously. The current grocery store is the last echo of a system that no longer exists. The federal government published the WSDA this month. The commodity markets read it and moved in one trading session. The grocery shelf takes about half a year to reflect what the markets repriced in one day. The household watching this video has months between now and when the new prices arrive. What you put in your pantry between now and fall is the difference between paying current prices and paying the new ones. The next WSDA will be published in 12 months. That report will tell us whether this country is in year one of a bad cycle or year one of a dust bowl. Economic Ninja is out.